Hello, City of Marysville. Thank you for joining us on Charger Chat. Today we have Sergeant Manibusan and Captain Bennett. They're recruiters from the Army, and thank you guys for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, so let's start right off, and let's talk about, you guys are recruiters. Do you want to explain to me exactly what you guys do and aspects of recruiting? What does your day look like?
Okay. Well, I'll have Sergeant Manibusan take it first.
Okay. Normally we'll come in, we'll brief what we need to do for the entire day, and then after that, it's either we make phone calls in the morning and we try to talk to people who just currently graduate high school, or if we schedule a school visit regarding whatever school, we'll go up to the school visit, set up a table for lunch, and then try to interact with the students. And then after that, we'll come back, when we find someone who's interested in joining or getting information about the Army, we'll come back in, we'll do a good interview, tell them what their options are with us, and then we'll go from there. And that's normally what our day is.
Okay. In the interviews, what kind of answers and attitudes are you guys typically looking for?
Answers from, it's more of not really a typical job interview, it's more of us telling the applicant or the recruit what they qualify for. So it's not really them trying to answer or us asking them questions, it's more of them asking us questions.
Oh yeah, so they're just trying to figure out exactly like what they're
what the
getting ready
benefits
for,
are.
yeah, benefits, stuff like that. Okay, what
Right.
they be doing? All right.
Yes. Yep.
Nice.
Do those recruits ever come back to talk to you, or?
Yes, they do. Usually it's either they come back on a program called Hometown Recruiting, which it's a program where newly enlisted soldiers come back from after they're done with training. It's a 2-week program. They come back and they actually come and help out the recruiters. So that means because they just currently graduated from their high school, so they have more rapport with the students of lower class. So for example, the juniors now that are becoming seniors that they've worked with. So they'll kind of come back, talk to their experience about how basic training was, how their individual training was. And for some reason, if they don't come back for that program, I'll still get text messages, phone calls, we get letters in the mail, and they start telling us how their experience is in basic training and also their individual training.
Yeah, it's usually somewhat of an ongoing relationship once we establish that recruiter versus recruitee relationship. Because, for instance, I enlisted 10 years ago, and I still talk to my recruiter right now. He's actually a sergeant major in the Army, and so.
Oh, wow.
It's all that.
What do they usually like write back or send back to you guys? Like, how do those conversations usually go?
Well, a lot of times, just different questions. I mean, we tell them to the best of our knowledge what the Army is going to be like, and so a lot of times when they experience it for themselves, they have certain questions, additional questions that they want to ask, or they may come back and say, okay, this is not what I thought it would be, or this is better, or something. It's just basic questions. Sometimes you have more than basic questions, but nothing really specific sometimes.
How do they usually describe their experiences in the Army?
It's based on the individual. I mean, some people love it. Some people, it takes them a little time to get used to, get adapt to. So it's really based on the individual, I would say, on a case-by-case basis. Yeah.
So when you're recruiting, where do you normally recruit? Like which areas, or do you have like a station or some sorts?
Well, within our company, we have 6 different stations, and each are responsible for a certain station. So, for example, the Marysville station, where I work at, we're responsible for Arlington, Marysville, Lakewood, Monroe, Snohomish, and Granite Falls.
Oh, so you guys have a lot of ground to cover.
Yes, we have a lot of ground to cover. So we do our best to try to coordinate with all the principals of the school and to actually set up table setups, classroom presentations. So we got a good guideline and a good schedule on how we rotate through the high schools and the areas.
Oh. Yeah. Are there any specific places you guys like to visit the most? Or?
Well, really, it's based on our target market, and that's usually between these 17 and 25, or 25 and 30. So wherever you guys hang out. So if it's the schools, if it's your social hangout spots, or Facebook, social media.
You guys
like
go to colleges? Oh.
We do. We go to colleges as well too. Right. So it's pretty much wherever our target market, our audience is. We go. We try to go and try to.
Where do you guys usually, like, if you go to between a high school or college or something like that? Where do you guys usually see the most response from people? Like, what places like they're most interested in?
It varies. It really does, and I would say it varies based on what town or what city or wherever you are. Because a lot of times, as far as the interest, as far as why someone wants to join the military, sometimes it's economical based. Sometimes it's based on whether that town is very patriotic. So, if you go to like a suburban or urban area, a lot of times they're going to want to join because of financial needs, financial reasons. So you'll see more interest in those guys. If you go to more like urban areas, you'll see more patriotic. So there's really no set a one answer, I guess, to that question. It all just varies.
All right. What's your guys' favorite part about the job? Is there anything about it that you really like, or anything you wish could change about the job?
The one thing I really like about it is the ability for me to interact with people, and at the same time, like young individuals. Majority of the high school students don't have a plan yet going into their senior year as far as what they want to do after high school, and I just like the fact that I can sit down with them and set a solid foundation, you know, regardless if they want to join the Army or not. Just to sit down with them and go and show them what route they want to take to achieve their goals and their passions of what they want to do or what they want to become. So that's actually a good take from it.
Anything you guys want to wish could change about the job? Anything?
Not at all.
No.
Yep.
Is there a lot of paperwork, or is it just mainly just conversations?
There's a little bit of both. I mean, it's just like any other job. I mean, because there's different positions. As far as like, for instance, Sean Manibusan, as far as recruiting, he does a lot of interaction, but also paperwork as well too. Because I'm the commander for all the recruiters, so for the most part, I don't do as much interaction as I would like to. I do more of the paperwork side of it. So it depends on what your position is.
All right. What made you guys decide you want to be recruiters, or what looked interesting about it?
Well, the way that it works, sometimes you don't necessarily decide you want to be a recruiter. Sometimes you get selected to be a recruiter, and it's really based on the Army looks for certain qualities as far as who gets to be a recruiter, and pretty much because essentially you're a representation of the Army, so they look for it, making sure they're selecting the best of the best. All right, so you have to not only look the part, you have to be able to play the part as well too. So you can volunteer to be a recruiter, but it's really ultimately determined by the military as far as whether or not you become a recruiter.
Have you guys done anything else in the military, or did you guys start off as recruiters?
No, before I was a recruiter, I was a helicopter mechanic for Chinook, and I was in Germany for the past 7 years.
Wow.
And then once I was done with that, I came over into recruiting.
Yeah.
How was that job? Was that interesting?
Oh, I loved it. I loved every minute of it. Being able to come off right out of high school, not having any aviation experience, and for the Army to take me in, train me up, and for me just to work on a multi-million-dollar aircraft, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. What was it like staying in Germany for so long?
Oh, well, I loved it. The culture it's a little different from the U.S., but as far as the lifestyle, everything's within driving distance. I mean, you got France, you got Rome, you got the Czech Republic, all those places that are just within driving distance. So I got the chance to travel a lot and experience all the different cultures.
Sounds like an interesting experience.
Well, we're going to take a break, and we have a segment for you guys. It's about a drill sergeant teaching summer school. Hope you enjoy it.
Attention maggots! I will be your commander-in-chief for this operation.
Great, another Army wannabe.
What did you say? I'll have you know I was on the beaches of Okinawa for 17 years.
Wasn't World War II like 6 years ago?
What is this, history class now? Tell me, why are you here?
Because we failed math class?
Wrong! Because you're a bunch of losers, rejects, and scum. I'm gonna turn you from losers into men, men into Marines.
But I'm a girl.
All right, maggots, time to get your rifles ready. I'm about to show you mama's boys a real taste of war.
But sir, I just told you, I'm a girl.
Maurice, what in the blazes are you doing?
Sir, I drew you a picture.
Give me that! Get back to work! What's 2 times 2, Private?
4, sir.
Very good! Congratulations! You've made it through to 3 months of hell and back! You have been refined as some fine Marines and dominators of the times table.
Thank you, sir.
You can return to your families now. Adios, Marines. No, not Marines. American heroes. Class dismissed.
And we're back with our break, and we're here with the recruiters, Sergeant Manny and Captain Bennett.
So, Sergeant Manibusan, you said 7 years in Germany. I was thinking about that, and being there for so long, did you pick up on any of the language?
The German language is kind of hard to pick up on. I knew a little common phrases like how to say hello and thank you and all that stuff, but as far as to speak it fluently, no, I haven't.
Did you get to travel around a lot, or did you mainly have to stay on base?
No, of course I had to live on base because I was single, so I had to live in the barracks. But during our off time, right after work or during the weekends, we were able to go travel around and see the sights. So.
All right. And Captain Bennett, what was your experience prior to recruiting in the Army?
So I've actually been a recruiter for 3 weeks now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just started. Okay,
3 weeks,
fresh,
yeah.
fresh off the boat.
Brand new. So prior to that, I had a range of different jobs, but my last one that I just came from doing was I was actually in Korea, KMKC Korea, and I was there for 2 years. And in that job, that position, I was in a maintenance company. So pretty much, my company, we were in charge of pretty much fixing everything from vehicles to weapons, to weapon systems, just about anything. If you name it, we could have fixed it. And so that was our job.
Yeah, 2 years in Korea. So
Yeah.
you guys, anywhere else have you guys traveled for your jobs?
As far as being stationed, yeah, I was in Korea. Of course, I was in Afghanistan. I was stationed as far as overseas or just in general.
Oh, anywhere in the world, really. I mean,
Yeah, so as far as overseas duty location, I was in Afghanistan and Korea. And being in those places, I've actually traveled to different places as well, too. I went to Japan, China. I was in, what do you call it, the Philippines, Thailand. So I did a lot of traveling at the expense of the military. And statewide, I was stationed in North Carolina, Virginia, and New York.
so you're doing a lot of traveling,
Right.
actually, yeah.
Yeah.
And Sergeant Manibusan, anywhere other than Germany?
Oh yes, I was stationed in Fort Jackson and then Fort Eustis, Virginia, and then after that, just went to Germany.
What are you guys' favorite place that you've been to so far?
Favorite? Well, Korea was pretty good.
Korea?
Yeah, I'd say Korea.
Did you get to when you're not on duty, did you get to travel around there too as well?
Yeah, definitely. We travel out, yeah. I mean, the good thing about being in the military, you have a lot of leave days. You start out with 30 days of leave days, but in addition to that as well, you also get all the federal holidays off as well too. So whenever and being in Korea, I got the United States federal holidays and I got the Korean federal holidays.
Oh,
so
wow.
I got a lot of free time. So I did a lot of traveling.
Nice. So is there anything, what exactly, when you said that when you go in the Army, they kind of hand pick the recruiters. What exactly are they looking for in a recruiter?
Well, like I said, I mean, they're looking for, first of all, you have to, look the part. I mean, you don't want someone who's just, sloppy looking or someone who just doesn't take pride in what they do. So that's the first step. But then they also look as far as making sure that person is somewhat technically proficient in what they're doing. They're knowledgeable. And because pretty much as a recruiter, you're telling that story. You're telling the Army story. You're telling your story in the efforts of trying to get someone else to join
Representing
the military.
the Army,
Right, exactly.
yeah.
So pretty much there is a standard as far as who gets selected, and sometimes that standards maybe a little bit subjective, depending on who you ask. But really, they're looking for quality, and they're looking for the best. And pretty much is what it is. Yep.
All right. So after the military decided you to be a recruiter, what kind of training do you go through?
Well, you go to, of course, there's on-the-job training,
Yeah.
but you also go to a recruiting school. It varies. I mean, for my school, I think it's only like 3 weeks. And I know for his school, it's a bit longer.
Yeah, for my school, it's about 6 weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so they pretty much teach you a lot of different techniques as far as how to recruit, a lot of different rules, the do's and the don'ts and all that stuff. So it's a lot of stuff. I mean, I can't really go over everything in depth.
Yeah.
Right.
Is it like a class that you pass or fail, or is there a grade?
It is a class that you pass and fail, right? Just about every school you go in the military, it's a pass and fail school. So it's not just one of those check the block thing. You just go and then show up and then you pass. There's a criteria you have to meet.
Is it more of a difficult one? Do people usually pass, or is it?
Well, and really, I mean, it depends. I mean, it really depends on how you define difficult. Again, there are people who actually fail the class, and so maybe it was difficult for them. But I mean, in general, it's not meant to be really super difficult.
Did you find it easy, or what was the more challenging things for you?
Well,
about
to be
it?
honest, because I'm fairly still brand new to recruiting, I've not yet been to the school. I'm actually scheduled to go here in a few weeks. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're just
So-
getting prepped for it. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Sergeant Manibusan, what was it like for you?
The school is actually fun. It's like I said in the beginning, it was 6 weeks, and really they teach you, of course, both sides of the job in order to process the paperwork. So they teach you that part of it, and then at the same time they transition you to get more comfortable talking to students. Like what Captain Ben was saying, we're trying to recruit individuals, so we're trying to represent the Army. So we're trying to relate and kind of figure out the person's goals and kind of just transition and kind of build off that. So it was actually a fun course. Like he said, it was a pass and fail course. Personally, it wasn't difficult for me. But like what I said, it all depends on the individual if it's difficult for them or not. So.
All right, so we're going to take another break, and we have another segment for you. It's a PSA called Save the Freshmen. Let's watch.
Hello, I am Dan Smith, and I'm the founder of the Save the Freshman Foundation. Have you ever found yourself in the unfortunate situation of being a high school freshman? I know I have. Here are just a few scenarios that could happen to you if you're a freshman.
Man, January's totally hot. Don't need that, man. Not really. We're a stupid freshman. Whoa, bro, nice. Yeah, you're a stupid freshman. Yeah, it's ours. Oh, strike, bro, nice. Get out of here. That's mine now. Oh, yeah, that's ours now. Loser. Loser.
As you can see, it can be difficult to be a freshman. Recent statistics show that 0% of freshmen have graduated from high school. If you donate to our organization, we can stop this epidemic. These freshmen, these poor little freshmen, are so precious. So precious. If we save the freshmen, we save the future. If we save the future, we save the world.
And we're back after our break with, interviewing Sergeant Manny and Captain Bennett about their recruiting.
All right, so we've talked a lot about recruiting. We understand you guys like it. We understand the process, how you become a recruiter, and what it's all about. Now, let's talk about the Army as a whole. What inspired you guys to join the Army? Were you guys recruited, or was it like a spontaneous thought, I want to be in the military? How did you guys really choose the Army out of all the military? Like, how did that go?
Okay, so for me, in high school, I did the GRTC thing, and
Right.
I actually loved it. I mean, I was very actively involved. I did the whole Ranger Challenge, the drill team, color guards. So I was very actively involved, and something that I really enjoyed doing. So when it was time for me to graduate, it was somewhat of a taking the next step. I didn't really think about it too much. I just pretty much spoke to a recruiter and told him, okay, I want to join the military, and so it was kind of somewhat of a second nature kind of decision for me, you know. So, and I joined in 2003. So and that's really when the war kind of started kicking off. And so I didn't really think about the fact that I may go to war or all those possibilities. I just knew that this is something I love doing and something I wanted to do. So.
What made you decide on the Army? Did you have like a choice, or were you advised the Army?
Well, I did Army ROTC, so
yeah.
That's kind of the part of the reason. It wasn't really didn't have a lot of knowledge in the other branches, so I knew more about the Army. So I just kind of like naturally went towards the Army.
All right. And Sergeant Manibusan, your story?
While I was in high school, I had different options. I always wanted to do the go to college thing, but realistically, I just didn't have the money, or my family didn't have the money to put me through it. So the next best thing was the military, and I've always wanted to work with helicopters.
Yeah.
And the Army was the branch that offered it to me, so I took that opportunity, and now I'm here.
So job selection. I remember in high school, I've taken a test that they had like the entire school take, where it's a survey kind of test, and the results will kind of tell you what kind of jobs you would be looking at in the Army.
Right.
So how did you manage to get into? Did you have prior knowledge of mechanics and stuff, or how did you get into mechanics with helicopters?
Growing up, I usually like working with my dad on cars and stuff, but prior to that, I didn't have any type of mechanical skills at all. It's just something me and my dad did.
Right.
So can you like request for a job you like?
Yeah,
to
I think
do,
it's
or
just
try
based
out?
on, because the test that you're talking about, I think it's probably the SVAB.
Yeah,
And right. So there's certain different areas. I think it's broken down like five sections or 5 segments. And so based on how you score in each one, the Army makes the decision or assessment as far as what areas they think you'll be best fitted based on those 5 different segments. And so based on where he scores the most, or based on where he scores the best, then the Army comes up with a group of job that they think, okay, he may possibly be good in those areas. I mean, for me, when I did it, they gave me, I think, like infantry engineers, quartermaster, and there was another one, and I chose engineers initially to be an engineer.
Why did you choose engineer?
Honestly, at the time, I don't think I had the logic really. I think because the plan was for me to go to basic, because I initially did the reserve, so the plan was to go to basic, come back in time to start college. And so I think engineer at the time was the shortest school, and it had the closest ship date. And so looking at as far as what I wanted to do, I chose engineers because of that reason.
What did you want to take in college?
Business.
Business?
Yep.
All right. What do you guys see, and did you plan to take like that business aspect and keep it with the Army? Did you guys want to stay in the Army?
I did. So I started off as an engineer, and went to college, got my business degree, and so the next, as far as when I decided to go back on active duty, I selected a logistician, which is probably the closest job that he had that would relate to my business background. And so pretty much I took my degree and I used it in the military.
All right. As far as future, again, do you guys want to keep recruiting? Like, for how long do you guys want to keep recruiting, or where do you want to see yourself in like 5 or 10 years? Where do you want to take your Army career?
Well, with the military, I mean, the recruiting is really, it's a position. It's one of those jobs. It's not something that you do for the rest of your military career. It's one of those jobs you do for a couple of years, and then you move on and do something bigger and better. So I'm a recruiter now, but I won't be a recruiter for the entire time I'm in the military. You're always moving from one job to another, and and that's how you get a lot of to be diverse in different jobs. Because I've done like probably about 12 different jobs so far since I've been in the military. One day I'm gonna just. Oh, okay.
That's all right. You can finish.
Okay.
Finish, sorry.
Yep.
All right, and then do we have another segment?
All right, so we're having our final break. This is a segment about an overweight ninja. Huh? Let's watch that.
All right. And when we come back,
I can train you to be better. Better than you ever thought possible. ready for your final test. Show me what you could do.
All right, when we're back from our final break with Sergeant Manny and Captain Bennett on the recruiting process. I mean, recruiting, yes.
So let's talk more about the future of your Army career. So Captain Bennett, you said how it's usually a thing you do for a couple of years and you move on to your next job. Sergeant Manibusan, where do you want to further your career?
So far, I've been in recruiting for a year, and I got 2 more years on the job. After that, I will hopefully gonna go back and become a helicopter mechanic again, and then from there, the sky's the limit. So I actually like doing my job. I like being able to train soldiers, teach them how to work on helicopters. So I'm kind of looking forward to that.
If you had the choice, would you just stay with helicopter mechanics for like the rest of your career?
Yes.
Is there any other job in the Army that you would be interested in? Like if helicopter mechanic just wasn't open for some reason?
Not really. But with helicopter mechanics, not just working on helicopters. There's a whole variety of jobs that are included with becoming a helicopter mechanic. You gotta be able to take care of your soldiers, do paperwork and stuff with them. So it's not basically just the helicopter mechanics part. It's taking care of the soldiers, the individuals, their families. So there's a lot more than just the helicopter job in general.
And do you have like a group working on a specific helicopter at a time, or do you guys have a certain group of helicopters that your group is responsible for?
All right, so normally in a company of helicopters, there's about 12 helicopters. So they split it up between a maintenance company and a flight company. And the difference between the two companies are maintenance companies, they do more of the major maintenance as far as like engines, putting off rotors, and then you get the flight company, which consists of pilots and crew members. So they actually go out and they fly, they crew the helicopters, they do their training on it, and then they do on the spot fixing if there's a wire loose or an electrical equipment that's not working properly. They'll do on the job troubleshooting stuff. So really there's no specific group that works on the helicopter. It depends on what the helicopter needs, and that's how they task out the jobs and tasks.
All right. And Captain Bennett, you said you're getting your business degree.
No, I already have my business.
Oh, you already have it, right? And where do you want to exactly use that after recruiting?
After recruiting, well, I'm using it in the military, and so so as far as the way it works, so I joined the reserve initially, and I came in part-time 1 week in a month, and so I went to school simultaneously. So I was going to college, and I was still in the guard or in the reserve, and so the military time was paid for me to go to school to get my degree, and so I went to school, did 4 years school, graduated, and then the military not only paid for my school, they also offered me a job to be a lieutenant, to be an officer in the military. So because I had the degree, I was then offered a job to be an officer.
It opened more doors for you.
Exactly, so it opened more doors. So like I said before, I'm using my degree in the military. And so my degree was in business. My job in the military is in logistician, which is pretty much, can't really explain it. It's a huge scope, a job description, but essentially it's pretty much coordinating supplies, coordinating resources, and coordinating personnel together, and making sure it supports our mission. Right.
How long you guys are about in your 30s, right? I believe. How long do people usually stay?
I'm not 30 yet.
20s?
27, yes.
27? Oh, yeah, so still pretty young.
Just turned 30.
Okay, so how long do people usually stay in the military? Like, are you guys planning to stay up to like in your 40s, maybe even 50, like depending on what you do?
Well, it depends. To retire from the military, you have to do a minimum of 20 years. And so usually, you could if you enter at 18, you could be eligible to retire at around 38, or it's outside the military. But for me, it's all about keeping your options open. Right now, military is the best thing for me, and I love what I'm doing. So until then, I'm going to keep going. But like I said, it may change tomorrow. It may not.
Right, and as far as changing goes, if the Army wanted to, do they ever just say to someone, "Oh, we can't have you here right now. We need to pull you." Could they take you or you guys both and just say, "Okay, we need you here right now," and just put you guys there? Does that ever happen?
Yeah, as long as you're in the military is going to utilize you to how they see best fit. So there are going to be instances where you're in one job and they think, you know what, this guy could be better in this other job. So we're going to maybe promote him, or you're gonna move him over to another job. So that's anywhere you go. That's any job you're in. That's always a possibility.
As a recruiter, how would you get promoted or advanced to like a next rank or something?
Right. Well, there's different requirements. For the big part is usually it's called time and service. So, and sometimes in order to get promoted, you have to meet a certain time requirement. So you can't just come to the military a year from now and then become a sergeant or become a staff sergeant. You have to first meet that time requirement. But along with meeting that time requirement, you also have to have that technical skill, that knowledge along with going that. And so that combined, and then they also send you to what they call a board. And so you have to go in front of a board, and you have a series of a panel, and they actually series of questions just to kind of see where you are, your knowledge-wise, and then they'll make a determination whether or not they think you deserve to be that next level. Right.
All right. Do you have anything else?
I don't know if I have anything else, but oh, are we? Okay. So it looks like the show's over for now. Thank you so much for coming in, Captain Bennett and Sergeant Manny. Thank you for watching Marysville. This has been Charger Chat, and have a great day.